Number 8, Ole Miss, fresh off their first loss of the season, travel to Norman to try and bounce back against number 13, Oklahoma, where OU at home is favored by 5.5. What are y'all's thoughts on this game?
The school up north is going to lose.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and tell you that much. I feel good about OU this week. So Oklahoma finally ran for 100 yards with Blaylock last week against South Carolina. Lenore Sellers was kind of just shut down, which he is, future Saint legend, Lenore Sellers. So he's obviously very good. I think this is just such a huge storyline game and a huge vibes game. Can Old Piss reset after a choke? Because that's what elite teams do, and they have to prove that. What did they mention a ton throughout the broadcast on Saturday last week? Ole Miss on the road. They haven't been good under Lane Kiffin. So, again, it's another road test for Kiffin and the Rebels. Is another road test for Trinidad. He passed the first one with flying colors. But I'd also say, which I think we would be shocked to say this right now, considering how these teams went last year, OU is undeniably better defensively than Georgia. And OU had a great defense last year, but it is shocking to say that a Georgia defense is not better than this OU defense.
Well, Lane Kiffin basically said that Ole Miss steals signs. So, shocker.
No, he said he didn't. Ole Miss steal signs.
Sorry,
Oklahoma.
that Oklahoma
steals
steals signs.
signs.
So, shocker, Lane Kiffin stirring up drama before a matchup.
On that topic, protect your signs, change your signs. One of Coach Mangini, Eric Mangini, he's a guest on First Things First a ton, former head coach of the New York Jets. His simplest way to put it with stealing signs is, there's a thing you can do where you can say that, well, 1 week this was trips right, or we're throwing the ball or something.
Yep.
Well, now this week in practice we can go, that's throwing the ball. It's that simple. Just change your damn signs.
Yeah.
Like that. It's the baseball deals with the same thing. It's gamesmanship. I love it personally. That is what all of those coaches are trying to do on the sideline, is prepare their players as much as possible for specific scenarios. So protect your damn signs. But to continue, the OU defense is, I think, undeniably better, and I think they're going to be a huge potential problem for Ole Miss. What a matchup between the offensive mind that can get really anything he wants for the most part, and Lane Kiffin, and Brent Venables, who is just bred in defense, born in defense, and has terrific schemes. OU, number one in the country, 14% of their defensive snaps in sacking the quarterback this year.
Pretty good.
It's just incredible. So Trinidad's going to have to get the ball out quickly. They're going to have to play this game from the pocket. And the Ole Miss is going to have to get what they got last week, run after the catch, yards after the catch. They're going to have big plays from their receivers after the catch, because I don't think Trinidad's going to be able to sit in that pocket for very long. So I think defensively, I think that's the side of the ball that matters more than Mateer in Oklahoma versus that Rebel defense.
Yeah, it's definitely the matchup to watch because it should be electric, simply put, because of the minds on that side of the football. I'm going to take it to the other side, just talk about it for a minute. I'm interested to see, for an OU team that has really struggled to run the football, though they found success against South Carolina. Personally, I don't think very high of South Carolina. But it's not like I think very high of this Ole Miss front seven, especially when it comes to stopping the run. They've just simply put not been good at it.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, can Oklahoma continue to build on their success on the ground last week offensively and find traction there? Because I think if they do that, paired with the fact that it's like I think OU will definitely slow down Ole Miss. I don't know if they'll shut them down offensively, but I don't think Ole Miss is going to score 5 touchdowns on the first 5 drives, for example. So it's like if you can find some ground success if you're Oklahoma and then pair that with what Mateer can do through the air, I think you can win this game, assuming your defense does what it does best, and that's shut out other teams. I don't think they have to score that much. But if they struggle to find success on the ground and Ole Miss can limit that, then it's a game where it's like, well, OU's defense is playing really well, but the offense isn't scoring enough to take Ole Miss out of this game, and so then it's a one-score late, and all bets are off.
Yeah. What do y'all expect from McTeer this week? So the last 2 weeks versus Texas 2 weeks ago, South Carolina last week, he's got 200 yards against Texas, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 150 against South Carolina, touchdown, no interceptions. He's gotten 19 yards on the ground on 22 carries, and I think that takes into account sacks and negative yardage, but it has just not been the same. He doesn't have a touchdown in the last 2 weeks. He had 5 in the previous 4. He's got the 2 lowest rushing yardage totals in those 2 weeks in the 6 games he's played this season. What do you think? Did something break with his injury, or do you think it's just been coming back from injury? He's taking it slower. He wasn't needed in the South Carolina game, and the Texas game was just a tough game.
I think Texas game was a tough game, and then he just wasn't really needed in the South Carolina game.
Yeah, I watched for the most part, much of the Oklahoma-South Carolina game, but they weren't trying to use him in any way. It felt like crazy enough in SEC play, which sucks, especially in Cocktober for a team I picked to go to
South Carolina feels like you're out there on a practice scrimmage game
for the
right
team
now.
I picked to go to the playoff, which I'd also like to say I picked South Carolina, but I also kind of picked just any quarterback in the SEC to just lead their team to the playoff. It felt like what Georgia Tech had done with Haynes King against non-Power 4 competition, which was we didn't run him a lot that week. We didn't use him to his full capacity so that he could get healthy. And so this feels like the get-right game for John Mateer, and I expect that to be the case. I expect Deion Burks and Satanga and Kanik to have good days. I think they'll run the ball well. We had, the School of North performed well offensively last week, but their defense allowed points on every single drive to Georgia. Now, Georgia has had good offensive weeks against Tennessee, but they've also had bad moments against Alabama. So I think Oklahoma's going to get what they want. Like you're saying, Jack, I think Mateer's going to have a really big day. It just feels like this OU game has to go their way, considering recent results and considering recent dynamics. Kiffin talk all week. That is all over social media. There is not a player in that locker room that doesn't have social media and does not know that Lane Kiffin is the candidate.
There's probably 2 that, like to be different and consider themselves unplugged, that are like, oh, I don't have social media, pat me on the back.
Yeah, they probably haven't heard either that Kiffin is the guy for Florida right now.
Yeah.
Probably the long snapper and someone else.
Long snapper and backup QB, I think, walks barefoot out in pregame, stuff like that.
Yeah, I see. So I think the locker room sees that because it's not that it's like, oh, it's Kiffin and James Franklin and a bunch of other candidates. They're going to go after Lane Kiffin, and everyone said that. So I think that has huge dynamics on them. They're coming off a devastating loss at Georgia in a game they feel like they controlled, where they scored 5 straight touchdown drives, as Jack said, but they gave up points on every single drive. It's another road game. It's a noon kickoff, so you travel on the road on either a Thursday or a Friday. I don't know, because I don't. Why would I follow their social medias? I don't care which a tangent, but why
for Ole Miss?
Yeah,
they definitely travel on Thursday.
Why do you follow your most hated rival on social media just so you can hate on them more? I see that all the time on our Twitter with State, with Rebel fans in our replies for our team. Why do you follow our team? Who cares? That clearly shows that you are kind of a pansy. Weird tangent, but I say all to say I don't know when they're traveling. Sanders assumes they're traveling today.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard, I think.
So you'll be there on Friday, but you have to get up and for a noon kickoff. Your playoff chances are on the line, kind of. 2 straight losses. There's not a lot of big games left on their schedule. They could get in there in 10-2, but I don't think.
Well, they're losing to Mississippi State.
Yeah,
in the season.
They're losing the Egg Bowl, obviously, and they will host South Carolina and Florida. So everything's still kind of in front of them, but this is a huge game because 10-2. I don't necessarily think that guarantees anything because with how many marquee wins that are out there and available, they don't have any. Like, they have the LSU win, but LSU's kind of fallen off a cliff. And outside of that, they will not have another ranked matchup the rest of the year. Team dynamics, like I said, with Kiffin, and Oklahoma just got a good road win last week. They actually ran the ball finally well once. They get to return back to home after 2 weeks on the road. So I think everything kind of leans towards the Sooners. And I think from a Vi's perspective, this is a game that they feel like they should win and will win. So to get into picking them, I'll take the Sooners to win and cover. I think this is a game that leans towards the Sooners. Also don't believe in picking Old Piss. So
Sure.
there's some bias in that, and there was bias in everything I said in this segment, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Sure. I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover as well. I think it'll be a close game. Oklahoma wins by a touchdown or something like that, 6 points, whatever. I just trust their defense. All the vibes around this game is a good point, too. This really feels like a game both desperately need, but Oklahoma's at home, so I trust them to get it. Back-to-back weeks on the road for Ole Miss. The trends are not very favorable in the road team on a back-to-back, winning yet again, or winning the second half of it. So I'm going to take OU. I think Ole Miss will have some success offensively. I respect Lane Kiffin too much, but it won't be enough to make up for their defensive deficiencies.
Yeah, I'll also pick OU to cover. I expect the defense to be able to handle itself against Ole Miss, and I expect the offense to get enough. I'm not expecting the offense to dominate just because, like we've talked about, their lack of a run game and that making it kind of one-dimensional, but I think it'll be enough.